Spare by Prince Harry broke every publishing record. But is it worth the hype? Is it worth your time? Let's find out. Hi friends, my name is Bart, welcome to the channel, and this week I'll be talking about this book. Spare by Harry of Sussex, or better known as Prince Harry. Now, once in a while I try to get out of my comfort zone and read something that I normally would not pick up. And sometimes it surprises you, in a good way. Like this book. Now, 2023 has its first bestseller already, a book that smashed every record in publishing history. But if history teaches us one thing, it's that not every best-selling book is a good book. I'm looking at you. So I picked up Spare by Prince Harry to see for myself and decide if it's worth the hype. Ready? Let's get into it. Now, before we start analyzing the book, let's get a few things straight. First of all, I went in blank. I have nothing with the royals, I don't follow all the royal news or the gossip, I am not Camp Meghan or Camp William, I'm nothing of those things. I just went in blank without any preconceptions or preferences really. Now, this book is marketed as his story, as Harry's story, and it is said to be raw, to be true, and to be full of the reveals that will topple the monarchy. But let me stop you there already. Because first of all, the book isn't written by Harry, it's written by a ghostwriter. It is written by J.R. Murringer, who is an award-winning, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, who translates Harry's story and Harry's words into this book. So it's not really his words. And then there is this strange oddity about Harry's memory. Now, in this book, Harry claims he has troubles with his memory. He can't really remember some things, and he can't always remember the details of things that actually happened. However, he says, those are my memories and thus they are true. But that's not really how it works, is it? Now, the book is divided in three large parts. Part 1 starts with the death of Diana. It goes right in and then goes on until his coming of age or his graduation, if you will. The second part is the part where he's in the army, and the third part starts where he meets Meghan, and it ends with today, I guess, with leaving the royal family and writing this book. So let me walk you through these three parts. Part 1 starts with the death of Diana. And let's be honest, it's one of those things we all want to read about. And reading about Diana's death is indeed an emotional read. Having to lose your mother at such a young age has most certainly damaged him. It has left him with some trauma, and indeed he claims during the book that for a long time, up till a few years ago, he always believed that Diana, Princess Diana, was still alive and hiding somewhere. And he was quite certain, he talked with his brother about it, that one day she would reveal herself again and take them away. And throughout the book we see that ghost of Diana looming over him in many decisions he makes, from wanting to have a real job like a ski instructor, or even wanting to be that one royal that tries to get away from it all. And in fact, and I'm no psychologist, but his problems with substance abuse might very well find their root in that childhood trauma. But the main topic in this first part is about the title of this book, being the Spare, and the fact that he was always the second one. The one that was not going to inherit the throne of England, and the one that was literally the Spare. Now, Harry claims that being the Spare and actually being called the Spare by his father has traumatized his childhood. From, being called a Spare to getting the smaller bedroom, still in a large, luxurious mansion, but the smaller bedroom, as well as the remarks by now King Charles, his father, that he might not very well be his own son. There has always been this rumor about Diana having an affair with her writing instructor, which is debunked already because Harry was already born when she met him. And in this whole part about being the Spare, he starts complaining about his sibling rivalry with William. Here already he starts taking potshots at his brother and accuses him of being a bully. But as you read through the book, it feels like he's an older brother in the first place. But the seeds for an endless circle of blaming his brother for things that happened to him are planted in this part. The second part of this book starts with him going to the army. And honestly, it's a bit of a drag. I mean, we get it, mate. You've been to the army and you know how to fly a helicopter. It is also filled with strange boasts like, I've killed 25 Taliban warriors. Remarks even the British army have called useless and even dangerous for their troops. It's clear, however, he actually likes this period. And even despite the war trauma, he goes on with describing types of helicopters and battle tactics and whatever. But honestly, that's not why we're reading this book, is it? Now I must say one thing that this book does well in my opinion is painting that whole story of inner healing. From the childhood trauma through the war PTSD he gets, he takes it all through therapy and he actually becomes a sort of an advocate of mental well-being and mental health. So I will give him bonus points for that. But this part is also the part that the whole Nazi costume thing happens. If you're not in the loop, he was about 20 years old, went to a costume party and dressed up as a Nazi officer. And again he does this strange thing about being accountable for his actions. He meets with the chief rabbi, he meets with Holocaust survivors, but on the other hand he blames his brother William and Kate for putting him up to it. Now call me naive, but if you're 20, I'm sure you're old and wise enough to see that dressing up as a Nazi is kind of the wrong thing to do. And this second part goes on with all kinds of strange reveals as well. You might have heard of Frostnipistan already, where he tells the story of going to the North Pole and getting frostbitten on his William, I guess. Awkwardly enough, he goes on and on about having a frostbitten penis and the things he does to it. And then there's more and more substance abuse. Let's be honest, Prince Harry has a drug problem. There is this whole strange episode where he's staying at the house of Courtney Cox, you know, Monica from Friends, and him being a huge Friends fan apparently, he takes these magic mushrooms, goes onto a wild trip where he keeps insisting that she's Monica and he's Chandler, and he ends up somewhere outside talking to the moon. And I must say, a lot of these reveals and a lot of these things he tells aren't really warming me to the guy. They're awkward, they're cringe, and leave you with the sense of, aren't you oversharing here? And then there's the third part of the book, which starts with him meeting Meghan. Now as a general theme, I can summarize this part as, we good, them bad. The main narrative of this part is the two couples arguing. It starts with Meghan wanting to borrow a lip gloss from Kate and then smudging it or something, up to the fact that Meghan says Kate has baby brain and then gets told off by William and then he gets told off by Harry, and it ends with an actual physical fight between the two brothers. Now we know how it continues from there. They leave the royal family, lose their security detail and go on to do all these interviews, Netflix shows and this book actually. And his big claim is that he is different from these royals, that he has left the royal family because there is a distinction between him and them. But you keep wondering, is there? Is there really? So, my conclusions. Is this the book that is filled with shocking reveals that will topple the monarchy? No. No, it isn't. In fact, in my opinion, if Harry does anything in this book, it's proving that he's a spoiled, whiny brat that's detached from real life just like any other royal. And in fact, I did not warm to him after reading this book. On the contrary, really. The reveals are awkward at best and cringe at their worst. And to be honest, there's not really anything in there that we didn't know already from the newspapers. And he still dodges a few hot topics. There is nothing said in the book about the whole alleged racism thing towards Meghan. We still don't know what was said by whom. And finally, there's reliability. The ghostwriter keeps coming up with all kinds of reasons, like the memory loss, to back up why Harry is saying certain things or isn't saying certain things. Now I must say one thing as far as toppling the monarchy goes. I was surprised that Camilla Parker Bowles is spared in this book. Most shots are fired at Charles and William, and she gets off quite easily. So is it worth the hype? Not in my opinion. And unless you're really into royals and anything that happens to them, I would not recommend this book. Instead, I would advise you to look at some of these recommendations. That's it for me for this week. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.